Hey guys, it's Beth, and today I have a project share and walkthrough of a project that I made using the school pad from CraftSmith. And this is the end of year teacher thank you card that I talked about. That's accordion fold. So it's made kind of like an accordion style scrapbook, but there's no pictures, no memorabilia. It's just more of a card. Just kind of an interesting format for a card. And the journal prompts that I am using, I've kind of found in different places across Pinterest. I kind of picked and chose the journal prompts that I wanted from various different projects and then kind of combined them together on this accordion card project. My journaling prompts and the lines, I've done all that in Word, and so I have one of the parts of my Word file is, the teacher is awesome, and so I can just change out the teacher's name each year. So like Mrs. Collins is awesome, and then I also have by, and then my daughters can write their names down here. I like to leave a lot of space down here because you never know, especially my kindergartner, you never know just how big her letters are going to be. She actually wrote fairly small this time, so I just kind of filled in some of this white space with a coordinating dark purple cardstock fishtail banner and then a little white star. And then this awesome word up here was from a cut apart sheet that was separate from the pad, but I had pulled it out when I was getting everything ready for my pad kill. So we'll unfold everything here. So this next panel, it is actually colored by my daughter. So one of the sheets in the pad was this black and white print. Like there's a little bit of greenish blue on the lines that go through like notebook paper, but there's no color on any of the images. So I let my daughters color 2 panels of these for their cards just to kind of give it a little bit more personalization. But the journaling prompt for this one is my favorite thing you do is, so I just backed the journal prompt on some black cardstock, added a little red cardstock punch here for a star, and then the word amazing came from that separate cut apart sheet. The next one, the prompt is, you really helped me learn. So this excellent came from the separate cut apart sheet, but then the apple in the circle came from the school pad. And all of the paper backgrounds came from the school pad. And here's a version, like they also, of that black and white one, they also had one that was already colored. So I did use one of that on one of the panels here. But this prompt is my favorite activity our class did this year was, and my daughter said field trip as one of her favorites. And so I did have some cut apart words that said field trip. So that was decided to use that as my embellishment for this page. You are really good at, and my daughter put doing math. And so I decided to use that particular prompt on the ruler page just to kind of go with the math theme. And then I found in my stash some old Pebbles ink ABC school themed stickers. And so down at the bottom they always have like little bitty circle stickers, and so I managed to find 3 of those that kind of went with the math theme, like the little math equation here, and then an A+ and a pencil, and then I just layered some stars down here at the bottom of the journal card. And then this last journal prompt is thank you for, and again it's on one of the pages that my daughter colored. And I just backed the prompt again on black cardstock to help it stand out, and then I did a black cardstock double fishtail banner down here. And then also from the ABCs, I did one of the larger letter stickers, and this one is E for education. And then the very last page of the card is where I did my pocket for my gift card. I stamped thank you and put it on a white fishtail banner up here, and I don't know what the stamp set was called or who it was by. The packaging had fallen apart, and so I just had it in a random like plastic cellophane bag. But I liked this thank you stamp just because it looked like somebody, maybe even a child, would have handwritten it. Kind of has that whimsical feel about it. And then I did my pocket on, there was some paper that had the letters of the alphabet in all different colors. And so I chose that as my pocket, but I didn't like how it looked directly on that arrow paper background, and so I matted it with some yellow cardstock. And then on top of the pocket, I decided to decorate it a little bit more, and so I have, it's kind of a tone-on-tone orange striped paper that was in the pad. And then I cut out a C for Collins out of the alphabet letter paper and then wrote Mrs. in the center, so Mrs. C. That's what she calls herself sometimes. So that is the card decorated. You can see on the back, maybe not, like this panel right here, if I can get it to focus in a little bit better. I used 3 separate accordion strips to make the card. So there was, each strip has 2 full panels, and then there's a partial panel here that I layered with the full panel from the next strip. So you'll kind of see that as we make it, but it wasn't, obviously wasn't one long continuous piece of paper. I had to use 3 full strips and then a partial piece to get my last page here. So, but that's just kind of a fun little personalized way that I had come up with to thank the teacher at the end of the year, give a gift, but then also have my daughters kind of share some memories about their teacher, and hopefully they appreciate it. I don't know what they do with it, but one of the things that I kind of keep in mind when I'm making these, I don't go for excessive durability. I don't expect that this will be handled tons. You know, the teacher may look at it once or twice, some of the family or maybe a couple other students may look at it, but then it either goes into a box or it goes into a trash can, which that kind of hurts my heart a little bit to think about that, but I know not everybody saves their handmade cards. That's, as a paper crafter, I have resigned myself to realize not everyone saves it all like we do. But so I didn't necessarily worry about making it extra sturdy. I used 65-pound white cardstock to build the accordion panels. I did put the panels together with my tear tape, but all of the decorating, I just used my ATG gun. So I didn't necessarily worry about it having to last forever sitting on somebody's coffee table. Maybe I'm wrong, maybe they do something else with the cards, but that was kind of my philosophy in how I made it. So that is my first card, and we will start making the card for my other daughter's teacher. So our next step then, our first step actually, is to work on cutting down the accordion panels. And so I used 8.5 by 11 cardstock. I could have done 12 by 12, but I don't know, I didn't like the weight of the paper. Like this is, it's 65 pounds, but it seemed to be a heavier weight than the 12 by 12 paper that I had. So I went with 8.5 by 11. So if you're using 8.5 by 11, you will need 3 full 11-inch pieces of 8.5 by 11. And then you will need enough to make an extra like 5 by 4-inch panel. So we will start by cutting down. You want to cut 3 panels down to 5 by 11. So if your paper is 8.5 by 11, just go on the short, like on the shorter end, and cut it down to 5 by 11. That's that simple step. Put my scraps out of the way, my panels here, and so then you need 1 extra 5 by 4-inch piece. So I'm going to cut mine this way. That's the one I want. Nope, that's okay. I'm going to move that out of the way, and then you want a scoring tool of some kind. I am going to use my old paper trimmer. So you're going to score these 5 by 11 strips every 4 inches, but I kind of like to think about my accordion folds and then turn my paper over every score so that my folds will go different directions. I know that sometimes it doesn't matter which side you score it on, you could still fold it. I just find it to be a little bit cleaner folds. So I'm going to come to 4 inches, do 1 score line, turn it over, come back to 4 inches, and do another score. And again, it's just so that I can have my first page open this way, my second page. So you're always going to have, like I said, 2 full panels, and then you have 1 partial, and that will help. That's what will connect each of your panels together. So I'm going to go ahead and score the rest of these, and we'll probably speed that up, and then when we're done, we will kind of work on decorating our card. Okay, so we have our 3 pieces that are scored, and we will go ahead and fold. And you want to try and make sure that when you're folding, you can use a bone folder if you want to help, but just so that you don't have like an overlap of your piece that's underneath, like that second, the second score. You want to make sure that it stays directly underneath your flap. So when you fold, you kind of want to make sure that you get an even fold. And I did that one backwards, didn't I? Nope, I did it right. For some reason I get on camera and I get all out of whack here. Okay, so you have your 3 folds, and we will now start to put them together. So when I put them together, I'm going to take this partial panel here and I'm going to put my adhesive on it, and then line my first full panel up on my next strip on there. So that's what's going to kind of connect them all the way down. I'm using tear tape. That is my adhesive of choice, but feel free to use wet glue, whatever it is that you feel comfortable using that gives you a fairly strong bond. Because if you're using wet glue, that will give you a little bit more wiggle room and time to kind of line up your panels before they're permanent. That is the only thing I don't like about using the tear tape, but it's not usually that big of an issue for me. Or also, if you wanted to, you could just maybe undo the strip over here, leave the cover on the rest of the tear tape, and that might give you a little more wiggle room as well. So you want to line it up, make sure it's even on the top and the bottom. Looks like that one is. See, so now we're getting our accordion working here. So we are going to do the same thing. I'm going to put some adhesive here. Goodness. I found that I love making these cards. I think because I love scrapbooking probably most of all of my paper crafting. And so this is almost like making a scrapbook, but it goes pretty quick and I don't have to necessarily worry about pictures. And my daughters love being able to be involved on this project. It's always interesting when they do it in kindergarten because you never know what they're going to say, what they're going to write on their prompts. Like I don't necessarily help them. I don't word anything for them. I may help, if they ask, I help them spell. But I figure it's more of a testament to what they've learned this year if they do that on their own. So again, I'm going to line my panels up here. Okay. And I am a little off on that, like that's going to stick out, so I may have to work on my score lines there, my folds a little bit. So now we have like this one last little panel, and we are going to make our final page with this extra piece that we cut. So again, I'm going to put my adhesive on this last panel. Would love to know, do you guys make any gifts for your teachers for teacher appreciation or end of year? If so, I would love to know some of the things that you make. It's always nice to have extra ideas. And sometimes you may find that you come across something that the teachers really love, and I'm sure other teachers would appreciate receiving that. Okay. Hopefully I can get this last one on as easily as the other ones went on. Yep. Okay. So there are all of our panels put together. So I'm going to work a little bit. Don't know if I will be able to do it. This one fold is a little off. So it kind of makes my, see how the card kind of, I don't know how well you can see, kind of juts out a little bit on this side. Force the fold in a slightly different spot here. Just so it's not quite so bad. And I'm sure it's probably fine. I'm just being a little OCD about it. Like that still sticks out and bothers me, but we're gonna let that go. Okay, so now the fun part of decorating. So when I made my first card, when I was designing this and cutting things down, I did go ahead and cut an extra set of papers down to fit this album, but they are not necessarily cut down to the exact size. I just wanted to make sure that my pages, like what my true page measurements were before I cut my papers down to the exact size. I didn't want them to be too small or too big. So it looks like 4 by 5, just what they should be. Sometimes depending on where your folds end up, they may be a little bit different. So then I am going to go through and cut all of my patterned paper pieces down to be 3 7/8 by 4 7/8, and that will give me the white border around, kind of framing my patterned paper.
So I have sped up the rest of the video and am doing a voiceover. I struggled with a bunch of things for the rest of this video and figured it was mainly assembly, so I can kind of talk you through the rest of that and make the video go a little quicker. So I am cutting down my panels now, and then we get into the fun part of the card assembly. So Sarah over at Crafting and Relaxing has also made a card similar to this. She did it for a coworker and had decorated the panels and let coworkers sign it. So I will link her video in the description box as well as the cards, so you can go check out her version as well. Here on my title page, I am using this Miss Hinton is Awesome, and that is actually part of the Word document with the journal prompts. And if anybody would like a copy of that, please let me know and I can just email you my Word document and you can easily edit it for whatever you want to fit your needs for your teacher card. I don't use a whole lot of dimension in the rest of this card, but I do decide to put some foam tape on the back of my amazing cut apart here just to give some interest. And here is where I struggle forever on this silly star. It's kind of a wonky shape and it messed with my mind. Like I just could not figure out how to make that one work. So I think I finally just glued it down kind of at an angle. Oh, that was a struggle. So here's my first page with the actual journal prompts from my daughter. So I'm doing the journal prompt at the top, and then I just have a little strip across the bottom, and then an H that I fussy cut out of the alphabet patterned sheet from the pad, and the H stands for Hinton, her teacher's name. So I'm cutting down this orange strip, and then I'm going to cut it into a fishtail banner. And then I'm only going to put adhesive on the back of the H where it's touching that orange banner. So I am going to use some 1/8 inch score tape just to give it a good strong hold. And then I'm going to struggle here again because I get those little bitty backing pieces stuck underneath my nails. And then this is one of the sheets my daughter colored, and she went with more of a blue theme. And since with the globe and a calculator on there, she had answered one of the prompts with math and science, so I paired those together. And I did back that journal card on black cardstock already. And here I ran out of tape. I had to go change my tape, and when I came back to put my microphone on, I realized I never put my microphone on when I had left a while ago to go get a trimmer blade and came back. So I needed to do a voiceover on part of that anyway. It was just an off day to film, I guess. I was struggling in many ways. So I had pulled this X from the Pebbles Ink alphabet sheet you saw earlier in the video, and it just says X for extraordinary. And I liked that pop of blue. So that cut apart, the cool is from the separate cut apart sheet, but the good job is from the pad. So I'm just gluing that one straight down, and then I struggle on where to put that good job. And then I take it off that page completely and then think, oh, I can try it on that page before. So totally put it on a different page in the end. So that ruler piece is just a scrap from the page that had, ruler pattern all over, and off to the side there, I'm just cutting it down to be the same width as my purple polka dot panel. Say that several times real fast. And then the star, I'm actually going to use some more score tape on the back of it, just because, again, I'm only going to put adhesive where it's touching the ruler. And then I'm going to move on to my last journal prompt page, and that's another one my daughter had colored. So I have the prompt backed on black cardstock again, just so it pops off that white. And then that teacher piece is from the separate cut apart sheet, and I have backed it on black as well. And then scarily enough, I'm working with another one of those wonky stars. Luckily this one didn't take me quite as long, but I still struggled. Oh goodness. So last page, and this is where I'm going to put my pocket for the gift card. I have that thank you piece that I had stamped thank you on, cutting it down to A little fishtail again. Lots of fishtails in this card. And then I'm going to use that aqua cardstock for my pocket. And off to the side there, I'm going to be cutting my piece down to 2 7/8 by 3 1/4. And then I'm going to score it at 1/4 inch on both long sides and then the bottom. And then that will create the pocket. I'm mitering the corners just to make it easier to fold and to glue. And then I'm going to use my 1/8 inch score tape again to adhere those strips down onto the card. And then right as I go to actually stick that down, I realized that I wanted to punch a little notch at the top. So luckily I remembered that before I adhered it. That's just a 1 inch circle punch, and I only put my paper part of the way in just to give it a little notch out of the top. Makes it easier for them to grab the gift card. So putting the thank you at the top, and then I'm going to try and decorate my pocket. I'm hoping to use this alphabet sheet, but it's not wide enough. So I'm going back to that Pebbles Ink alphabet sticker sheet, and I'm looking for something red. For some reason I wanted a pop of red. So I go with N for nice job, and then I realize I really should have put something else, maybe a strip under it or a border at the bottom, but it is what it is. So hopefully you guys have enjoyed this card and can use this in some way. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. Be sure to stay tuned for future videos on this pad. Thanks for your time today, and I hope you have a crafty rest of your week.